Good morning, family. This is Dr. Camelia Strong, your Own Your Life transformational coach and mentor, coming to you live from Sacramento, California. So I'm trying some new things to see how many people we can serve and assist by creating videos or going live several times a week. So that's what we're going to be attempting to do. So a couple of weeks ago, I read from a chapter of my book, Finding Your Bliss in the Midst of Pain, the 9 Keys to Trusting Yourself and Living an Ordinary Life. Good morning, Inez. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. So this morning, I'm going to take about 10 or 15 minutes to discuss one of the chapters in my book, my latest book. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and you can actually inbox me to get a signed copy if that is your wish. So a couple of weeks ago, I discussed or was discussing chapter 3 in my book, which is key number 2, and it's intimacy. And intimacy, we like to break it down as to intimacy, because one has to be able to understand oneself before you can share yourself with someone else, right? And so a big part of that is understanding intimacy, understanding the levels, understanding the different forms. And so I'll give you a quick overview of what I talked about a couple of weeks ago. Hopefully you'll be able to go back through my timeline and find the video, and they'll also be up on YouTube, my YouTube channel. So the first part of this chapter, we discussed the 5 levels of intimacy. And so Daryl, good morning. What do you mean it reads backwards? It probably looks like it reads backwards because I'm showing it face to you. But no, it doesn't. And thank you for being here. So we'll go over the quick levels, right, of intimacy. So level 1 is called safe communication. And safe communication is really basically being able to discuss the weather with someone. It doesn't require any, big trust or deep levels of trust or any of that. It's just safe conversation. How is your day? Good. Things like that. And so then level 2 is others' opinions and beliefs. So at level 2, you're really starting to share information with other people. But on level 2, you're not actually really sharing your own thoughts and your own feelings. Good morning, Lakeisha. Thank you for being here. We're discussing chapter 3 of my book, Finding Your Bliss in the Midst of Pain. So I hope that you all will find value in this as we go through it, right? And so right now, again, for those who are just coming on, I am just doing a quick overview of the first half of the book that when I discussed it a couple of weeks ago. And so level 3 is when you are sharing your personal opinions and beliefs. Now, recognizing that in level 3, it really starts to get a little bit sticky, I guess is a good word, because now you're showing and sharing how you feel about different things. And at this point, you are opening up, right? You're opening up. And when you do that, now there's a risk involved. So once we enter into level 3 with the people around us, we are sharing information, but in that piece, we also incorporate a way to back out, right? So if I say something that may cause some type of rejection from the person that I'm talking to, you have incorporated a piece in that conversation where you can say, well, that's what my mama said, right? So then it allows for like a quick escape. Now, when you move on to level 4, right, of intimacy, now we're talking about you sharing your feelings and your experiences with someone, right? And at this level, this is where, trust is a big thing, right? Because now there's no way to back out. You're putting yourself out there and you're believing that the person is not going to reject you, that they're going to be able to hear you and understand what you're saying. And in that, the risk is totally there, right? There's no way to back out of it because you're discussing how you feel and you're sharing your experiences, right? And one of the things I want to make clear with this is that understanding it is okay if everyone in your space does not get to level 3, level 4, and as we're getting ready to talk about level 5. Good morning, Terrence. Thank you for being here. And Natasha, I appreciate you all for being here. Please share the video with your friends and family. If you all have any questions or any ideas that you would like for me to look at and create a video on, be sure to share it in the comments, right? Because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to serve and to make sure that we all are able to operate in a space of bliss. And I'll actually tell you that for Dr. Strong, Rising Star, what bliss actually stands for, right? So now the final level is level 5, right? Now level 5 is really saved for your intimate partners. And when I say intimate partners, at this point we're talking physically intimate. This level is actually saved for your children. So because you want to be able to share information, right? You want to be able to have those real, solid, meaningful conversations. And so what level 5 does is this is where you have gotten to a point to where you believe it is safe to share your needs, your emotions, and your desires with this person, right? And like level 4, but a little bit more intense, there's no way to get out of it, right? So when you share this information, it is all you, right? And so that's why level 5 is really saved for that person or persons that you really trust, that you're really looking to share your life with, right? Like life to the end. So before I go on to the other parts of discussing intimacy, one thing that we want to also share is that if you are in a relationship where you believe or know that you should be operating in maybe level 4 or 5 with this person, I would suggest having a serious conversation, because the level 5 person is the person that you will call if you're stuck on the side of the road. Really, Keena? Okay, I'll check that because that's not what I got, and probably would have been cool if you'd have private messaged me that, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Right? At any rate, moving on to the next thing. Again, level 5, my needs, emotions, and desires. And that's where you share that information with the person. And again, there's no back it out, right? So now as we move through, we talked about, gave an overview of what the levels of intimacy looks like, right? We're going to talk about the 6 forms of intimacy. And so when we talk about the 6 forms, what we're really saying is how intimacy actually shows up in those levels, right? How that shows up. And so for the first form of intimacy, it is really cognitive, right? Or intellectual intimacy. Now, believe it or not, the thing is with this first form, right? This can literally happen without even any words being spoken, right? So, and that's why it's important for us to understand the entire gamut and pieces of what intimacy looks like, right? So, this is where 2 people can exchange thoughts, share ideas, and enjoy similarities, right? So, for example, if you are a part of a group, right? And so there may be some people in that group that you can really have deep, serious conversation with, and then there are some that you can't. But you actually can be able to operate within this first form of intimacy because you share like things, like you can go on painting, or 2 people who are actually working to fix a roof on a house. That is where we are operating in the space of cognitive and intellectual intimacy, right? Okay, so the second form of intimacy is going to be intimacy activity or recreational intimacy, experiential intimacy, and these are ways where people, again, get together and activities involve themselves with each other. So that means we're engaging, right? We're really engaging. That means that what you see, I see, and we're discussing it, and then we're sharing that information on, a level 2 and 3 space, right? So now, the third form of intimacy is going to be emotional intimacy, right? Now, and as we look at these forms, it's going to be important to be able to see where they fit in the different levels, right? Because sometimes we share these forms of intimacy with a person and not recognizing that we are not actually operating on the particular level that is associated with that form of intimacy, right? So take form 3, for example. The third form of intimacy is emotional intimacy. Now, this is where 2 persons can comfortably share their feelings with each other, or when they empathize with the feelings of the other person, right? And when one really tries to understand and tries to be aware of the other person's emotional needs, right? And so that's where we're operating with the third form of intimacy. And so if you think about that, at what level of intimacy would you be operating in? And this is probably going to be somewhere between, 3 and 4. And maybe a little bit in 2, right? Because we always want to be able to empathize with others, but with the understanding that not sharing too much information, possibly, or being in a space where you're thinking you're operating at level 3 with this person, and this person is actually, seeing you as a level 2 person in intimacy, right? So these are the things that you will want to discuss, right, with the people that are in your space, so that everyone is clear and are operating on the same level with the same understanding, right? Now, the 5th form of intimacy is financial intimacy. Now, some people say, what? Financial? Yes, there is such a thing, financial intimacy. So here we go. Financial intimacy is sharing of your financial situation. In this form of intimacy, you and your partner will develop plans for your finances and will have communications about your finances and other money matters that are open and honest. It is very important that one is aware of the financial condition when one is a part of a marriage or domestic situation. Right? So we know that most relationships, especially partner relationships, right? And that can even be business partners, not just, girlfriend, boyfriend, fiancés, husband and wife, as it talked about domestic, any of that. We know that a lot of relationships end or tread on troubled waters due to finances, right? Finances plus the lack of communication, right? So with that being said, if you're operating in a space of level 4 or 5 with someone, mainly level 5, right? You need to be able to share that space and understanding, the conversations that need to happen when it comes to finances, right? This is not to say that you cannot have like separate entities or whatever when it comes to your finances if you're in a marriage, a domestic relationship, and different things like that. What it is saying is that it is important to recognize that that is a part of the process when we're looking at intimacy, right? Now, the next thing, thank you, Kina. So the next thing and the final form of intimacy that we discuss in my book is sexual intimacy. So we know that for most of us, right, when we hear the word intimacy, when we introduce the word intimacy, that's usually the first thing that comes to most people's mind, right? And so we put that last because we wanted to be able to build so that we understand that there are several different things that happen or should happen before we enter into a space of sexual intimacy, right? So now, here's what we say about that. And then when we say sexual, we're looking at physical intimacy. So we use those interchangeably in the book, right? So physical intimacy is sensual closeness or touching, right? It is an act or reaction, such as an expression of feelings between people. Physical intimacy includes, but is not limited to, lovemaking, being inside someone's personal space, holding hands, hugging, kissing, and caressing. This is the stereotypical definition of intimacy that most people are familiar with. However, this form of intimacy includes a broad range of sensual activities and is much more than just sexual intercourse. It's any form of sensual expression with each other. Therefore, physical intimacy can be many things for different people at different times. We humans are designed to want to be touched, and it is very important. It is a very important part of our growth and our sense of belonging and feeling loved. Good morning, Brandy. Thank you for being here. So, what we'll do for the last couple of minutes is really look at, and if you have any questions based on what we've covered thus far, put them in the comments. I can see it, and I'll work on addressing those right now. Right? So when we look at physical intimacy, right? Understand that it's not just, again, like we said, it's not just sexual intercourse, right? So when we look at physical, okay, Kina, if you want a signed copy, I have copies on hand. I will be on the Florin Road today, and maybe we can meet up there and work something out, right? So just let me know. Or you can go online because it's available at Amazon and Barnes & Nobles online. Good morning, Kimberly Kelly. How are you, lady? So those of you who have just come on, my name is Dr. Camelia Strong. I am your Own Your Life transformational coach and mentor. And so the last form of intimacy that we are discussing is sexual physical intimacy, and looking at what that looks like, right? Because we work through the forms of intimacy that actually should come before that, and that sexual intimacy is really saved for if you're in a space where you're operating at a level 4 or level 5 with a person, right? Now, this is not to say that as adults you make choices, right? You make choices on how you operate in all of these spaces, right? Know that you make choices. Those are your choices, and with that understanding, know that those choices are also your consequences, right? So but I say that so that we can create an understanding that sexual intimacy, closeness is not a bad thing, right? Know that the Creator created us to be able to operate in that space. The thing is, we have to make good choices with that. And we make good choices by understanding where we are with people, right? Understanding that you have the conversation so that, I'm looking at you and I see you as a level 5, and you're looking at me and you see me as a level 2, right? Not being afraid to have those conversations, right? Because as adults, you can make choices, you can make those decisions, but it's best to make those decisions when you are informed, right? I have friends and clients that I worked with, and one of the biggest things is that, people are under the assumption that the other person doesn't want to hear the real information, right? Regardless of what that may look like, right? And I'm finding in my conversations and in my research that is actually not true at all. A lot of times we don't have those conversations and we don't share that information is because we fear rejection, right? So if I am looking at you and I see you as a potential level 5, right? So I'm going to be sharing all this information, and you're looking at me like, really? And sometimes yes, Inez, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where the conversation comes in. Because if you're secure within yourself, right, you're able to have those conversations. You're able to say, hey, this is how I see what we're doing. And the other person is able to say, well, this is how I see it. And then come to an understanding, right? Because, again, we're all designed to operate in that space, however that looks like, right? We want to make sure, though, that we have those conversations and that we don't just assume that someone sees us and is feeling the same way, right? Because, the old adage is, what assuming does, right? It makes so we work in a space of not assuming, right? So do not be afraid to have these conversations, regardless of where you are. The most important piece with intimacy is really, 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 really looking at where you are, right? Good morning, Sharon. Looking at where you are with you, right? Because the thing is that you can't give from an empty cup, right? You can't give from an empty cup. Assalamu alaikum, Naima. How are you? You can't give from an empty cup. So, in order to be able to operate in any of these spaces of intimacy, you really have to go here, right? So I have to be able to know and understand Camellia, Dr. Strong, Cammie, depending on what space we're operating in, right? Before I can properly function within that space with someone else. So that's why when we look at intimacy, we say, into me, I see. Because I have to look at me first and then be able to share that space and that information with the person that I am looking to share, that space of level 3 through 5. Right? So we look at all those different forms of intimacy and being able to place them at the proper level so that we're not doing level 5 behaviors, right? With someone who is, yes, Kimberly, I did address the different definitions of intimacy. That was like earlier in the video, and then in a previous video, because I covered the entire chapter. This is like the second half of the chapter that I'm covering. But, here's my book, and that my book actually covers all of that. It covers the different levels, it covers the definitions, it covers all of that, right? So, again, if you're interested in getting a copy of the book, you can go on Amazon, you can go on Barnes and Nobles online. You can also go on createspace.com to get a copy of the book. For me, wonderful. Message me, and if you want a signed copy, I do have copies like physically on hand that I can ship out, right? But I will tell you personally, as a entrepreneur, right, I make my book available on all those mediums. But for me, as a business person. It benefits me more if you want to purchase it online. You go to Create Space and just put in the information, and it'll pull it up for you, right? Because there are certain little things that Amazon and Barnes and Noble pulls out, which I get, right? They're the big name people, so they got to get theirs. I'm cool with that. But the book covers, 9 keys that we talked about in my research, in lessons learned, in different things like that, in order so that you can, okay, wonderful, Kimberly. We'll do that. We'll take care of that. The different things and pieces in order so that you can live a life of bliss. So when Dr. Strong says bliss, what is she really talking about, right? Because it's not this whole, fantasy level of happiness, right? Because we know that life is going to happen. We know that there are going to be things and situations that are going to hurt, that are going to make us angry, that is going to frustrate us. But what our goal was with creating Finding Your Bliss in the Midst of Pain is creating and sharing keys and steps and information that you could incorporate in your life, so that no matter what life does, when you wake up in the morning and when you lay down at night, you can say, you know what? That was a shitty situation, but I love my life. And that is where we want everyone to be. Because you can create the life that you want. You can create how you want it to look. And in here, that is what our attempt is, to help you create, right? And so I will ask at this point that if you enjoy the video, if you came in late or whatever, go back, look at it, listen. If you have any questions, please share them in the comments, because I do go back and I do check. If you have an issue or concern, or just something that you want to know about and you want somebody else to do the legwork, right? Just put it in the comments. Hit me on Messenger or different things like that, and I will, create a video for that, or get the information to you one way or the other, right? So as you know, I'm on Facebook. Ha ha ha. That's how you're seeing me right now. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm on Twitter. And I'm also on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is more of a business type thing. So I'm sure we all know how that works. I also have a YouTube channel, and a lot of my videos are on my YouTube channel, because I do take the ones that I do live and I convert them to and put them on YouTube, so that you can at any time go back, relook at, create questions and different things like that you may have based on the information that we've shared, right? And before we go, for those of you who are on, who have agreed to and participate in our upcoming retreat, thank you. I'm so psyched and looking forward to January 2017, the 13th through the 15th. We will be in Tahoe City, California, in a beautiful cabin, where we will be looking at all the keys in my book, and we will be teaching the ladies how to really operate in a space of healing, self-love, and self-understanding. And so, but if you haven't, it's not too late. We still have a few spots left. Message me, on inbox me. You can reach me at my email, which is risingstarlifecoach@gmail.com, or you can give me a call at 916-239-5561. I thank you all for being here with me this morning. Again, I am Dr. Camelia Strong, your Own Your Life transformational coach and mentor. And again, if you have any questions, any concerns, please do not hesitate to send me a message or put it in the comments below, because that's what we do and that's what we're here for. That's what we were created for, and our intentions is to always operate in that space. So with that being said, I am going to sign off and move on to the other parts of my day, because you know it's California, so it's probably hitting about 7:30. But this time works well for me. And again, please, 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 please share the videos, share with your friends, share it on your pages. I would greatly appreciate that. It helps me, and hopefully it would help someone else that shares that space with you that I don't know yet. Loving you with all the love in my heart. Have a beautiful day and create the life that you want to live, family. Namaste. Peace. Okay, Naima, my number is 916-239-5561. Love you all.